Hi and welcome back to the sixth tutorial of the series. So in this tutorial I will cover a little bit more about Maven. So now that we have a base structure set up, we have a simple page object module, we have a simple test case. So what I'm going to do is to be able to run this test from Maven or from the command line. So in order for me to get started with that, what I'll do is if I go to the pom.xml file, so here we can see that. Let me just minimize this so we can see that we have the dependencies block. But what I need to do is go outside the dependencies and add a build block. And within this build, I'm going to add plugins. So within the plugins block, I'll have all my individual plugins. So I'm going to start off by going to Google and search for Maven repository. Go to the first one, mavenrepository.com. And what I am going to search for is Maven compiler. And I will explain in a second why I am using Maven compiler. So I'll go with the first option, Apache Maven compiler plugin. And the version I'm going to use is 3.7.0. And since we're working with plugin, I don't need the dependency block. So what I am going to do is just take the group ID, artifact ID, and the version, copy that, and paste it. So I need to create a plugin block and then paste it right in here. And after that, what I'll do is I'll create another block, but within this plugin, and this is going to be called configuration. And within configuration, I need to do is to add a target and a source block. And here I'm going to specify 1.8 and 1.8 as well. So the reason why I'm doing this is I'm telling the compiler that I want to run Java with 1.8. So my JDK version is 1.8. I haven't upgraded to Java 9. And another thing is, I don't know if you guys noticed, but when I ran this test before, so what would happen is that in the console, it wouldn't give me an error, but it would give me a warning that I am using 1.5 and it's obsolete. So this has to do with IntelliJ. I think it's a bug. So I'm just specifying 1.8, so it'll always look for 1.8. If you have Java 9 installed, then you could just specify that. If you have 1.5, that would work just fine. I'm just putting the configuration to my needs. So now that we have that plugin, I'm going to take another plugin. So let me just create a plugin block. And let's go back to Maven repository, and now let's search for Surefire plugin. This is also from Apache, so it should be the first one, Maven Surefire plugin, and I am going to use 2.20.1. And same here, since this is a plugin, we don't need a dependency block, so I am going to start off by getting the group, artifact, and version. And let's go back to IntelliJ, and I'll paste it in here. And I'll also explain in a second what I'm doing here. So I'll start off by creating another configuration block specific to this plugin. And within this configuration, I'm going to create another block called suit XML files. And this will contain the individual XML files. And so let me create a suit XML file block. And what I mean is, so previously we were able to we have this runner.xml file or XML, runner.xml. So basically what we're able to do is to run from this class. If I right click and click from run from here, then it runs the classes I've specified. But this is from IntelliJ, so what I need to do is, or what I can do is in the pom.xml file, I can say that I want to run the XML, this runner.xml when I'm running from Maven. So you would think that you would have to specify the whole path to the runner.xml, but we don't have to do that. If you guys notice here, we have a target folder, and so this is produced when we run the tests. So within the target, we have a test classes folder, and then we have the runner.xml. So it's the same one. So what I can do here is I can specify the target folder, and within the target, I'm going to specify the test classes. And within test classes, I'm going to point to runner.xml. And now here's the thing. If you have multiple XML files, you could set it up differently, but for now we're just working with a single XML file. So this should be just enough. And what I did in the beginning of the tutorials was to enable auto import. So everything is just getting imported automatically. I don't have to clean and install. Alright, now that we have this set up, what I can do is try to run from Maven. So what I'm going to do is, if I go to my terminal, and since we're running Maven from the command line, so if you were in Windows, you would go to CMD, and if I type the command mvn version, I should see the Maven version, but this is only because I have it installed on my machine. So if you want to install Maven on your machine, if you don't have it, so what you can do is, so if you're using Mac, you could use Homebrew. So if you have Homebrew, all you need to do is in the terminal, you can just say brew install Maven, and this should install Maven for you. You don't have to set the path environment variable like you have to do with Windows. If you're not sure about Homebrew, I'll post a link down below. And if you are using Windows, I'm gonna post these links in the description below. So you can follow the instruction here. Download Maven and follow the instructions. So I'll provide this link in the description. As I mentioned before, I'm not going through the installations and stuff. These tutorials are more focused on the actual results. So what I'm going to do is, let me just open a brand new terminal. Alright, so my projects, I have them in idea projects directory. So I'm going to navigate to that, and then I'm going to navigate to the project itself, which is test automation framework. So now if I type in ls, which is basically a list, so now I can see that, and I have, so I'm in the correct folder basically. So here what I can try to do is use the Maven command. So Maven clean test. So what this should do is run the Maven clean command, clean out all the dependencies or any issues are going to be resolved, and then it's going to run the test command. So it'll install, then run the test, it'll run the XML file. So let's see what happens. So we can see that it's trying to find the test. It seems like it found the tests. So now it's running the test suite, and we can see that driver was opened. It searches for Selenium, and then it closes down. So we just had a single test, and now it's just shutting down. So let's see what happens. So here we can see that test run equals to 1. You can see failures, errors, and so on. And the build was successful. So that's how we can run very simple Maven commands from the terminal. And another way of running Maven commands in IntelliJ, actually there are two ways. So I'm going to show you the first one. If you look down below, there is something called terminal. There should be a tab here called terminal. So you can just open the terminal, and it'll automatically point you to the current project. So here you can do the same thing, Maven clean test. So that will work just fine. And there is also another way we can do it. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you look in the right side, I have a Maven projects tab. So if I click on this, I'm going to be able to see the dependencies. There is a Maven lifecycle, so I can execute the commands from here as well. And how I can get this is simply by going to the preferences or settings, and you should see appearance and behavior, key map, and so on. So in the plugins, what you can simply do is search for Maven. So you should see Maven integration, and since I already have this installed, you can just install this. So that should work just fine. And when you restart IntelliJ, you should see this tab on the side. Alright, so that was the basics of running with Maven, so see you in the next tutorial.